Alright guys, so for your lesson today, I'm going to go over a couple problems that would be similar or something kind of like you would see on your test for G2. So remember, we have learned the different types of triangles, and I'm going to pull that up now so that we can review them really quickly. So the different types of triangles, remember, you can classify them by their sides or their angles. So if it has two sides that are equal, you have an isosceles triangle. No sides are equal, it's a scalene triangle. And if all sides are equal, it's an equilateral triangle. An obtuse triangle means you have one obtuse angle. Remember, obtuse is more than 90 degrees, less than 180. Acute angle, all the angles are acute, so all of them are less than 90, and a right triangle has one right angle. So again, going back to this, some of these questions you would see, you've got to remember these vocabulary terms. So remember that I sent that G2 anchor chart to you, so if you need to study it before your test, you might need to look at that. So remember, parallel lines are two lines that will never cross each other. So you will never have them cross. Remember, you have to know your quadrilateral names, the vocabulary, and go back to study them if you need to. So this first question says, which shape has two sets of parallel sides? So we're going to have two sets of parallel sides. So that means we're going to have two lines that never touch in one place and two lines that never touch in another place. So if you see this figure right here, it does not even have four lines in the shape. So we are going to automatically, and let me get an X right here. We are automatically going to mark out B. We know that that is not an answer possible because we are looking for four lines. Okay, so parallel lines are two lines that will never cross each other. So if you look at A, this line on the bottom and this line on the top will never touch. But if you look at this line and you look at this line, if you kept extending this all the way and you extended this line all the way, it would eventually cross in an X shape. So that trapezoid only has one pair of parallel sides. So we're going to mark it out because we're looking for two sets of parallel sides. Okay, now we go to this pentagon down here. If you look closely, you have this line at the bottom, but you don't have any over on the opposite side. Okay, if you look at this one, if you extended it up and down, and you extended the line across from it up and down, you would eventually cross on the bottom. And if you extended these up, you would eventually touch at the top in an X again. So that is not the correct answer. So we're going to mark that one out. Now let's look at D's lines. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little easier for y'all to see. So if I'm looking at this line right here, let me make it a little brighter. And this line right here, those are opposite sides. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this in a pink color. And I'm going to do the other side in that pink color again. Okay, so there's our two sets of lines. So our green, if we extend all the way, those are never going to touch. And if we extend our pink, those are never going to touch. So your correct answer is going to be D. Okay, D would be your correct answer. Okay, number 2. Which triangle has all congruent angles and all congruent sides? So remember, congruent means equal. So we're going to go back to that anchor chart because you have access to it. So, which triangle has all congruent angles and all congruent sides? I want you to focus on sides. Because if you look at this, we never got one that said, hey, all these angles are congruent. But if you look at the sides, we know that an equilateral triangle has all sides that are equal. So I must know that these angles are also going to be the same. So an equilateral triangle is your correct answer. Congruent means equal. Number 3, which shape is a quadrilateral with exactly one set of parallel lines and no perpendicular lines? So remember, parallel lines are two lines that will never cross, and perpendicular lines will cross and they'll make a 90-degree right angle. Okay, so automatically you know you have to have no perpendicular lines in here. So I can automatically get rid of B because I know that a square has two sets of parallel lines and two sets of perpendicular lines. Okay? C, I also know I can get rid of because it has no parallel lines at all. They all will cross. Okay, so that leaves us with A and D. Okay, so we know that this quadrilateral is called a rhombus. And if you remember your quadrilaterals, a rhombus has 4 equal sides. Okay, so we're going to do our lines again on this shape. We have this side and this side are parallel and will never touch. And we have this side and this side that will never touch. Now this is not the correct answer because our question says one set of parallel lines and we know that this one has 2. So that one is going to get marked off. So by process of elimination we know it has to be A, but remember the qualities, the characteristics of a trapezoid, which that's what this shape is, are that it has one set of parallel lines. So it will be your top and your bottom. So that answer is A. The next question, Gary has the shapes below on his homework. Which term would describe all of these shapes? So remember your quadrilateral club. Refer to Monday's video if you forgot the quadrilateral names. So I'm going to go and look. We have a square, a rectangle, and a rhombus. Okay, so when we go to that quadrilateral anchor chart, we see that we have these arrows. So a quadrilateral, a parallelogram, a rectangle is a parallelogram, a rhombus is a parallelogram, and a square is a parallelogram. So going back to this, a square is not a rhombus, so that could not, and a rhombus is not a square, so that could not be, those could not describe each other. So we're going to go ahead and mark B and C out. We also know that a parallelogram is not a rectangle, but a rectangle is a parallelogram. So our answer is going to be A. And that all just comes from you knowing your quadrilaterals. So again, if you don't remember those quadrilaterals, go back to Monday's video and review.